This video is sponsored by Ikigai Film Lab.
I'm coming to you with a very, very exciting episode today. As you can see, I have not one, but two brand new film cameras that are on the market in 2024. I have the Pentax 17 and I have the Rollei 35AF. Since I am in the unique position of having both of these cameras at the same time, I thought that it would be awesome if I shot them together on a photo walk and ran through the user experience, and obviously you guys can see the results from these two new cameras. I have not used these cameras. This is the very, very first time. So you're gonna see my real-time reaction to every part of the experience of using both of these. I have tried to limit how much I watch and read about them as well, so I can give you my honest and natural opinions on both of these. So you might be wondering, how the hell did she get both these cameras to use? And the answer is my amazing film lab, Ikigai. They sourced both of these cameras for me to use in a video, which is so cool. So they sourced the Pentax 17 from Pentax Japan themselves, and the Rollei 35AF is a Pioneer unit that they got themselves independently, which allows me to give you a true unbiased review and my honest opinions, which I think is really, really important. So big thank you to Ikigai for sponsoring this photo walk video and getting your hands on these cameras for me to shoot today. I'm so excited. So here in Australia, we get a little bit overlooked because we are a smaller market and we're very far away. So I was a little bit disappointed with how the Pentax 17 launch was handled in Australia. So I'm very excited that I finally got my hands on it and I can use it because I love half frame so much. I think it's really important that you see different people in different places with different styles using cameras, because everybody's going to have a different opinion. So it's nice to see an array of different people using them and sharing their experiences so we can all make decisions, informed decisions as consumers. So Ikigai Film Lab gave me 2 rolls of Fuji 400 and I've loaded both of these cameras up at home. The Pentax 17 is pretty straightforward, how you would imagine that you would load like an SLR. The Rollei has a few quirks and it was very interesting to load. I found it pretty difficult. I had to get Lux to kind of like run through it with me and then I did it. It's not something I'd want to be doing out on location, I guess. Like you'd have to sit down and do it. The Pentax 17 definitely was a lot easier and more straightforward. So for someone who's a beginner, I think this would be a lot easier to load than this one. So you'll have seen in some video footage that we're throwing up now, but getting the base plate off was difficult. Like I pulled and I'm worried I'm going to break it, obviously, and I didn't want to pull too hard. And then when you're putting it back on, once you've loaded the film, you have to sort of manipulate each side to close it up and get these two pieces to meet, which is obviously very important because you don't want light leaks. So that was, a little bit time consuming and just a little bit sort of like difficult to make sure it was loaded correctly. But obviously doing something a few times, I'm sure you'd get used to it. But yeah, making sure that those two pieces are meeting is very important and definitely took me a couple of minutes. But I mean, look at this, how cute and just how cool. Such an amazing looking camera and really cool thing to like hold. And it's so cool that this has been brought to life. So obviously I appreciate that comparing a full frame camera and a half frame camera isn't really fair. So that's not really what I'm doing in this video. This video's main aim is to help people like you watching who maybe are looking at both of these cameras online and you're thinking like, do I want to invest my money? Which project do I want to back and which camera would be right for me? So that's what I'm all about. I want to make videos that help you decide those things. So what's really important to me is user experience in a camera, because that's going to dictate how much you're actually going to pick it up and use it. And I think you should be using cameras. And then obviously the results. And those two things are sort of what I'm going to be focusing on. So in this video, I will be taking similar shots on the Rollei to the Pentax, but I'm by no means comparing like image quality or, things like that. But I'm just giving you the opportunity to see them both in use in real time together, so you can go, I think I would definitely prefer like the Rollei or the Pentax. Straight off the bat, something I did notice when I was kitting these out with my straps, which is very important to me, is that the eyelets on the Pentax are a lot bigger than on the Rollei. So that made it a lot easier to attach these Peak Design lugs, whereas with the Rollei, it was kind of difficult to like feed it through the eyelet. Also, you'll notice that the Rollei just has one point, which I'm not a huge fan of because then it kind of just like swings around, whereas the Pentax has two and it just feels more comfortable to carry around like that. So just those little things really make a difference to like how much you end up using a camera or how much you like it. It is so amazing that Gary, I believe, has, made this camera. Like, what a feat and what an amazing thing to do. And we have to take into account that he is, one person. I'm sure he's had people help him, whereas Pentax, they're a bigger company. So that changes everything in terms of like what they're able to do, the price point, the knowledge of the people that they're going to be able to like get on board with it. So I think that that kind of accounts for a lot of the differences between the cameras. So the advance lever, you've got to advance it like all the way to this side. You can see it's kind of almost coming all the way around. It is very small. I know it's a little bit bigger than the original one. I've never actually seen the sort of original one that it's based off like in person or held it. But yeah, it's small. I have quite big hands. So it does feel a little bit like I'm kind of like overcoming the camera with my large hands. Whereas the Pentax has got like the grip on the side and just is a bit longer. Advancing with the Pentax and just sort of using any of these functions on the top just feels a lot more finished and seamless. Like I'm not noticing it. And I think that's kind of what you want. Whereas with the little Rollei, the advanced lever doesn't feel super great. And I just feel a little bit tentative with a lot of the functions and buttons on it. Even like turning this is like, well, I just want to check the aperture. Feel like when I press the shutter, the camera's moving. No, like because of the size of it and the way like I'm holding it and the lightness of it, like when I'm pushing the button, it's then like moving. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm pushing because it's like difficult to push the button in. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which isn't great.
Future Lucy here. I've seen the scans, so stick around because at this point in the video, I am getting pretty frustrated with the poor little old Rollei. So stick around. I will be coming back towards the end of the video because I've seen the scans and things just really took a turn. So yeah, stay on this journey with me and I'll see you at the end of the video. So it is pouring rain, so typical when you're trying to film a YouTube video. So we're just taking some cover and I'm gonna get a coffee and then finish the rolls off once the rain has passed. Yeah, you have to push so hard on the button when you take it that you kind of end up moving the camera, which, I don't know, for me feels like a bit of a problem. So the rain has finally passed, so I can get back out and keep shooting both these cameras. We had a quick coffee and we did take a couple of portraits of me and used the flash on both the cameras and also got a little bit closer. I think the minimum focusing distance with the Rollei is 70 centimeters according to the manual. So not as close with that, obviously. Whereas with the Pentax, it's 25 for the macro, and then there's a little knife and fork like food setting. It's very 2024, and that's 50 centimeters. So we just got a couple of close-up shots.
to try and show you, as many scenarios as possible with the camera. There isn't a whole lot at the moment of me filming this video on the Rollei. So I'm sure that there will be in the coming weeks on YouTube, and I'm sure there'll be some great, really in-depth reviews on all the features and testing it out in that way. But I just really wanted to show you my experience firsthand, first time using it. Something I have noticed is the shutter button is quite hard. Like, you have to push quite hard, and for me it's making me like push down so hard that I'm then moving the camera, so I'm worried my frames are going to be crooked. That's not great. And then Lux used it before to take a photo, and his hands are even bigger than mine, so seeing him, watching him use it, it didn't look and feel very comfortable. Could be kind of a cool shot here. I've just been shooting mostly on auto with the Pentax. Obviously when we shot the flash, it was different settings, but the auto just allows it then to be like a fixed focus, like a disposable camera would be, or like the pano camera or something like that. On the auto setting, the flash will go off if it detects that it needs to as well. So it is freezing. Like, I am not well dressed for today. The weatherman lied to me. I might just take a photo here because it's, I can see the bottoms turning. I just want to make sure that the film is obviously caught on properly. One thing that I have heard people say, and I'm definitely noticing it, is that autofocus is very loud. Even before, when we were in the coffee shop, it was so loud in the coffee shop with so many people talking, and I could hear it trying to, focus when Lux was using it. So it's definitely very loud, and that could be a problem for street photographers, people who want to be discreet. It doesn't really bother me, but it's just something else to mention. It's on auto. I think the Pentax as well feels a lot more like the fixed focus thing I kind of like, because of the way I shoot. I can then just put it on auto and it feels pretty point and shooty and easy, and I like that because then I can just move on. Whereas with this, with the autofocus, I don't know, I'd kind of rather this be the same way as that, if that makes sense. Just because, yeah, it's, I don't know. Do you want to take a photo of me like in front of here? Just feel like would be nice. I'm gonna hand both of the cameras over to Lux because we're gonna take some portraits in front of these nice textured walls here, just so you can see like a variety of shots, because I know a lot of you probably like taking photos of people, or you might want to take these cameras out with you and photograph the people that you're with. So we'll show you it in that scenario as well. I'm just getting my poses ready. Initially, we weren't really sure how the Rollei worked. It's not super clear from the manual, and I wasn't sure if it was aperture priority or not, but I think it is, because when we move the exposure dial here, it will give you like a plus symbol to show you that or it'll tell you that it's okay, meaning, that you're metering correctly. So that's kind of helpful. It either gives you like a plus or minus, or says okay, so you kind of know where you're at. Creepy. This looks kind of cool here. And then I'd say this is one person.
Yeah.
Like that's saying 1.2 meters.
I mean, it's probably actually close.
Maybe 1.7. So 2 people would be 1.7.
What are you actually focusing?
Like here, the plant.
It's probably more like 1.
1 meter. So one person then.
Yeah.
Okay. Did the flash go off? This advanced lever too is I don't love, and it's like denting like my finger. Like it's not a nice experience. Whereas like with the Pentax, it's just a lot easier. I think just in general, like this just feels a lot more finished, and this feels like there's a lot of things that could be done possibly to improve it, to make it a better user experience. But I do think it's an impressive thing to have brought to market for sure. So I want to give a huge shout out to my film lab, Ikigai, for sponsoring today's video, making this photo walk happen, and for getting a hold of these cameras and giving me the opportunity to shoot them. It's so, so cool. I've been getting a lot of questions lately on Instagram, in the DMs, and even emails, people asking me, how did you get your photo to look like that? Or what film stock are you using? Or what camera are you using? And whilst those things are obviously important, I think a lot of why my work looks the way it looks is down to the amazing scans, and that's because of Ikigai Film Lab. Developing and scanning film is quite a complex thing, and I think that Ikigai do so well because they have years of experience and expertise. They know the film stocks really well. They know how things should look, and they're going to take the time to make sure that you're getting 100% out of your film and the scans are looking as best as they can. Ikigai's website is linked below if you want to check out what they do with their lab and their recycling program. There's so many exciting things going on, and you should follow them on Instagram because I am going to be doing some cool content with them in the coming months and some more YouTube videos as well. We're going to be doing experiments with film, sharing tips, film guides, and lots of value for the film community and fun things. So follow along so you don't miss out. Thank you so much for supporting me. It's so cool to work so closely with my film lab and for them to support me doing this kind of thing, going on photo walks and making content about film cameras and film. I'm freezing. No, I only photograph classic cars. Obviously, the Pentax 17 is a half frame camera, which I love. I think that that is a really economical choice these days with the price of film. I own an Olympus Pen FT, which I absolutely love. The photos are beautiful, the camera is beautiful, but it does have a lot of issues, like the viewfinder is a bit sort of dark. The film counter gets stuck at like 50 and won't go past that. And then also the meter doesn't really work. And I bought it on eBay mint condition for like about $900, or I got it for my 30th birthday. So when comparing buying a pen or some other half frame camera to the Pentax 17, I think it would come down to obviously figuring out how much of a risk you want to take, I guess, because secondhand cameras are likely to have problems, whereas something like the Pentax 17 is new. It's going to come in a box, it's going to have a warranty, and there's just going to be probably a lot less like issues, I guess, than something that's, 60 years old like the Pen FT. This is kind of cool here too. this is a good shot. It's always hard to get these things straight though, you know? And you see the photo, you're like, oh. This feels a lot more discreet too. Like the sounds and everything, you know? You can get the shot and kind of move on. To be honest, it is not the best day for photography. It's windy, it's raining, it's overcast, it's cold. But you know, you got to get out there. So we ended up pulling the pin on the shoot that you guys have seen because it did keep raining and it was windy. It just wasn't really very good photography weather. Luckily on the weekend, I was blessed with some really, really good sunshine and also a spot that I love to photograph in, which is like by the beach, and there's lots of buildings around there that I love. So it was nice to be able to have some time with these cameras on my own and not be filmed, because to be honest with you, shooting 2 brand new cameras that I've like never used before, trying to get like good photos and nail how to use the cameras and then also explain how they work and do it and talk to camera and be in a YouTube video all at the same time is pretty hard, and most people wouldn't do that. But we really wanted to show you guys real-time footage of me using them for the first time so you could actually see what it was like. Getting to use them on the weekend on my own, in my own time, has given me a good overview now of what I think of these 2 cameras. And I have seen the scans as well, and I am shook. I'm so surprised by the results of both of them. I think if you were watching closely, you would have seen that I was getting pretty frustrated with the Rollei, and I was pretty dead set that I preferred the Pentax, but now that I've seen the results, that has kind of all changed. But before we get into that, I wanted to just give you a little bit more of an overview of how I found using the cameras when I got to use them on the weekend. So I was loving the experience with the Pentax. It just felt really seamless, smooth, easy. I was loving the features on there. Like I didn't really notice the camera, to be honest, which I feel like is what I want. I don't really want that to be like a barrier for me or something I have to stop and think about too much or be too complicated. So this just felt so, so easy, and I was much preferring this. The Rollei, on the other hand, was starting to hurt my thumb with the advanced lever because it's quite sort of tough and just like the material of it is different to the Pentax. I still haven't figured out where the film counter was, but I could definitely feel when it was getting to the end for sure. So it doesn't really matter. Unloading and loading is quite difficult and sort of cumbersome. Just generally, I honestly felt like when I was taking the photos, I felt like I was using a toy camera. So I was thinking, man, these photos are not going to look good. Thinking about how much the camera is, how much film is, how much developing is, and then thinking like, I'm just going to get these photos back and they're probably not going to be in focus, or like they're just not going to be my best work. Whereas with the Pentax, I felt like more confident. Then I got the scans back and oh my God, so blown away by the Rollei. Like the scans look epic. So we got the text from Ikigai that the scans were back, which is always exciting. And I was super nervous because I was like, oh my God, I've had the opportunity to shoot these new cameras. I really hope that the photos look good. I was super nervous. And as soon as we opened the file and I saw like the punch of the colors, I was like, wow, this almost kind of reminds me of the L35 AF. Especially the flash photos, like they just looked so amazing. The hit rate for focus was so good. I don't think there was any photos that I missed focus on, which is so, so good, especially for something that's like kind of point and shoot style. I think that really puts me off if I use a camera and, you know, there's multiple photos that didn't hit focus and you're like, damn, that would have been a really good photo. So I felt so confident seeing the scans. Like I want to use this again. I want to load it up today, go out and shoot with it. And it would just be awesome to own this and have it and shoot with it. Like it's small, it's compact. Yes, ergonomically, it's not the best to use, but in terms of the results, seeing them, that has really pushed me over the edge and made me think like, yes, this is an amazing product. Well done to Mint for, you know, bringing this to market, and like the sharpness, the punch, the fact that it's got a flash, like just, yeah, it's amazing.
I'm eating my words because I was definitely getting frustrated in the video when I was using this, and I was a little bit disappointed. And now that I've seen the results, I am absolutely blown away. When discussing the ergonomics of the Rollei 35, I think we have to take into account that the only reason that it's been designed like this is because Mint chose an already made original camera to kind of replicate. So that has obviously given them constraints of how they're going to design it and what functions they're going to put on it, the size of it, etc. So I feel like I can't really criticize or fault the ergonomics because it's based on something that already existed that was designed by someone. Whereas with Pentax, they've gone for a more traditional camera, and they were just doing whatever they felt would be best ergonomically. They weren't trying to replicate something that already existed. So ergonomically, it's hard to compare them because of that reason. And I do want to be completely fair to Rollei because I think it's a much bigger feat for this camera to have been made, maybe a lot more money, being thrown at it, and expertise from people who've been doing it for a long time. Whereas this is a bit of more of a one-man show kind of vibe, and, well done. So talking a little bit more about the Pentax 17 post seeing the scans, I think the thing that stood out to me the most was totally sharp, definitely. I mean, this is half frame, it's not full frame, so it's kind of hard to compare that, but really sharp. Photos also looked great, but I was kind of expecting them to look good, so that's definitely impacted it. The modes are great and I enjoyed using them. I think the ones that are out of focus are definitely like operator error because I'm not very good at judging distance. But in saying that, for someone who was using the camera for the first time in a YouTube video and is really, really bad at judging distance or measuring anything, I was really, really surprised by the hit rate of, the photos being in focus and my poor judgment. Maybe it's not that poor. Maybe I am actually good. But I used all of them. So the little flower is macro. We used that on a couple of food shots and they looked so good. Something to note that might be better than my explanations is in the manual, it says that with the strap from the loop to the end of the strap is about 25 centimeters. So that's the macro mode. So yeah, like getting close to like food on your table, or if you were going to do like product photography or something, or flowers with this, that would be a good gauge, especially for someone like myself who's just clearly terrible at measuring. To give you an example of the macro shot setting, this close-up of this BMW, that was shot with macro, and like, wow, this looks so good. Same with these dumplings as well. Like, this is so, so good. Like, this made me think I could take this to a job shooting food when I do my restaurant work. So, far exceeded my expectations of a camera like this. So we did try out the bokeh mode on this camera, or Lux did. He took some pictures of me and they are a little soft. So I'm not sure if the lens is just soft at 3.5 or if maybe Lux misjudged the distance and that's why. I'm not sure. Let me know if any of you guys have tried the bokeh mode or seen anyone try it and had better success, because it 100% could have been on us. To be honest, the bokeh mode isn't something I would be using on this camera. It's not a draw card for me, but all the other features I would 100% use. So initially, I just didn't really want a bar of the Rollei. I just wasn't interested. And now that I've seen the results, that's completely changed. And to be honest with you, I just want both cameras now. I just want to use them both. I want to own both of them. So I'm excited to run more rolls through each of them separately and do videos, because I have only shot one roll. So there might be other things that come up or help me make the decision. But right now it's very hard to choose. It would obviously come down to money. For those who are watching, it would depend on like what you can afford always with cameras. And then you have to take into account that the Pentax is half frame, which is very economical, and it's just a nice experience. You don't have to stop and, load another roll of film in. So it would be great from that point of view for like a travel camera or a walk around camera. Some people don't like that. They don't want to, have a roll sitting in a camera for weeks trying to get through 72 shots, which I do sometimes feel like that with half frame, especially if I want to see something on there. But then the Rollei, I just think like, so compact, so cute, and super easy to use. You can just like advance and just shoot. It's very, very simple. And now that I've seen the focus hit rate, it makes me feel way more confident, and it would probably push me to take it more seriously when I'm shooting it and like really go after compositions that I like. So in terms of deciding, I hope that that helps a little bit. I think that it's so amazing that we have these two options now in 2024 for film photographers. I feel like we are being listened to in what we want. And the more we see of this and the more we respond to this, the more cameras we're going to see and the more innovation is going to happen. So if you can, definitely get behind both of these cameras. The Rollei, I think, has stopped taking pre-orders because he's been so overwhelmed, which is great to hear. But follow along and keep an eye on that. I have linked directly to Mint below so that you can go and support Gary and what he's doing with the Rollei 35 AF. As far as Pentax goes, I have popped an affiliate link down below, which supports me, and it would be great to go and support the Pentax 17. And of course, a massive, massive thank you to my amazing film lab in Melbourne, Ikigai Film Lab, for purchasing these cameras, sourcing them independently so that I could do this review and give you my honest feedback of both of the cameras. They are linked below, their socials, their website, so go check them out. If you are in Australia and you need a new lab, definitely hit up Ikigai. The scans are unmatched.